Good morning and welcome to another edition of Mental Health Monday, Thanksgiving holiday week edition. Lots to talk about with that. I am joined once again by my good friend, somebody who just graciously gives of her time to better all of you who watch, Kristen Boyce, owner of Pathways to Healing Counseling. Good morning, Kristen. Happy early Thanksgiving.
Good morning, Mayor Jensen. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Oh, thank you so much. And to you guys, I'll start by saying, on behalf of this entire city and really this entire community who joins us online, I'm thankful for you and the time that you give so freely to us means more than you'll ever know.
Thank you. And I'm very grateful for you and every single person that tunes in. And I just hope and pray this is helpful and impactful.
And I have no doubt that it's going to be. We're going to discuss some great topics today. Obviously, Thanksgiving is this week. It's on Thursday. In case you didn't know, mark your calendar. Holidays are tough, Kristen. We've talked about that before. It's a tough time for folks. Being with family can be challenging. This year in particular, there may be some uncertainties around your holiday. There may be some grief and loss. You may be celebrating a holiday for the first time post losing somebody, whether it be to COVID or some other reason. That's always difficult. There's just family dynamics that are difficult. Everyone has that uncle that might go off the rails of some sort. You just never know what you'll have at Thanksgiving. So we're going to talk about how we manage that during the holidays. We may revisit this topic again over the next several weeks because we have Christmas right around the corner, as the Jensen kids will remind me all the time. So we have a lot to talk about this morning, and I'm excited to dive in with you on it. But before we do that, as we always do, let's start with some square breathing. I'll let you, Kristen, lead us through that exercise.
Thank you. This is something you'll do all throughout the next couple of months. And really, hopefully, this is lifelong. So before you enter the room or the house for Thanksgiving, I want you to practice this square breathing. You're going to put your feet on the floor, kind of really feeling your feet down on the ground because it's centering and grounding. You're going to inhale through your nose for 4. Hold for 4, and then exhale slowly out your mouth like you're cooling soup, cooling a cookie. So let's do it together. Big, deep inhale and release. I invite everybody listening or watching today to practice with us, because when you practice with us in those heated moments, or when you're highly triggered, or you think you're about ready to lose it, or you just feel really anxious about maybe some family dynamics or just emotions that are coming up, can be your go-to. This is the number one strategy I teach every single client, and I really invite you today to embrace it, to try it, to throw us a bone and do it with us. So let's do one more breath together. Feet on the floor, big deep inhale and release. So let's practice this breathing as we're entering this conversation that may even be triggering about the holidays and really all of the family dynamics and emotions that come up around the holidays.
Yep. And square breathing can be done in the bathroom, at your in-laws' house, wherever you need to sneak away and do it. It's a great way to center yourself, get yourself back to a normal spot. I was telling Kristen, you and I were chatting before we came on. I was in Ohio this past weekend with my in-laws, who I absolutely adore and love. But my wife, Julie, has 3 siblings, and lots of grandkids and just different personalities. But it makes me happy and excited, but also adds a level of maybe anxiety or anxiousness. And I think that probably causes it. A lot of people have that emotion this time of year. So if you have any thoughts there or questions that you want Kristen and I to address, feel free to write that in the comment box. If you just want to say hi and let us know you're listening, that's great too. And please feel free. This is meant to be interactive as we go through this journey together. So Kristen, let's dive right in. Anxiousness around the holidays, anxiety, emotions. How should we tackle this?
So first of all, I just want to say we are up at the highest level of anxiety in history. and let that sink in. So, of course, this time already produces a lot of anxiety, and then we add the holidays on top of it. So, I just want to normalize, like, if you're feeling anxious, there's nothing wrong with you, first of all. Second of all, this is so important for self-care. So, I kind of went through, as preparation for our talk today, some really highlighted tips, because if you can take something, one or two of these tips, and implement them so you have a plan, it'll help calm your nervous system down. So the first thing I want to say is watching expectations. So if we play this movie out that it's going to be chestnuts roasting on an open fire, so to speak, we go to Thanksgiving and everybody's happy and everybody loves everything about everything, we're going to be super disappointed. If we can have realistic expectations, that is going to help serve you. Expectations, according to Anne Lamott, an author, are resentment waiting to happen. So when we expect someone to change, like, oh, they're going to be better this year, they're going to be different this year, and then they're not, we get disappointed. So when we can watch and check our expectations at the door, you're going to be better off. The second piece I want to talk about is self-regulation, managing your own reactivity. So if we want someone else to manage theirs, we have to manage ours. So that's the breathing right before you get there, centering yourself, grounding yourself, saying a prayer. So you can check those expectations at the door and you're centered, you're grounded, you're calm, you're breathing through the entire event. So you can come back to that breath. And anytime you need or you feel that anxiety coming up and you need to come back to center, use your breath. That's the beautiful part of the breath. You have it wherever you go. Use it. Use the body to help you come back to center, because the body's the first thing that's going to start feeling anxious. The third thing is that I love is think about moderation. Sometimes we overeat because we're anxious. We overdrink and we overdo it. And then we have regret. And then we have guilt. And so when you go into it with a plan, like I'm not going to drink, or I'm going to, however that looks for you, then or I'm not going to overeat. This is what I'm going to eat. You then feel safer because you've already come up with a plan, which leads me to the next tip. Yes, I see.
Stop you on that tip because I was gonna ask this question anyway. So I tend to be an overeater, especially on the holidays and on alternating Tuesdays. Kidding. But in all seriousness, so I noticed this past weekend, so Julie Jensen is from Columbus, Ohio. Her parents are moving to a new house. So it was the last Thanksgiving in her childhood home. So we had a spaghetti dinner for Thanksgiving, a little off topic there, but I went crazy and ate a lot of spaghetti, and we had every dessert known to mankind. And I can tell you, I was going to ask, do studies show overeating? I was just uncomfortable, unhappy, ticked at my kids, mad that I was wearing a belt. The list goes on. And I wanted to comment on that because that was a real thing for me on Saturday, was the overeating piece.
Yeah. Good for you for noticing.
Yeah.
That's the first step. You admitting it. Look at the vulnerability you're offering to everybody listening. I mean, truly, that you're owning and you're going, oh yeah, I was anxious. And I was I just, in order to kind of manage that discomfort and that overwhelm, I just kind of ate. Yeah. And I kind of dissociated. Like I kind of just went, this is how I'm going to self-soothe, is through food. We've done this since we were little. Yeah. We learned
the shame and the guilt on the other side. Yes. Even worse there, because I was like, I had a plan. I wasn't going to eat that much. I went to Orange Theory that morning and just blew it times 7, on that. So it's a real thing. And I didn't mean to interrupt your list here of things, but I wanted to comment. Guilty as charged.
I'm so glad you did, because you're not alone. I mean, we all do things to try to self-soothe in the moment. And that's when you have a plan going into it. Like you're like, I know I'm going to get anxious. I know it's going to be stressful with the kids. I know there's a lot going on. There's a lot of emotions. And it makes sense. Like we're like, okay, I need an outlet here. And so food is one we go to. Drinking is one people go to. I mean, list goes on, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you can go, okay, I know that's my go-to. What am I going to do to kind of manage that overwhelm before I get there? So taking those deep breaths, maybe you go to give yourself a break and you're like, hey, I'm going to go, or you go to the bathroom, or you go for a walk around the block, or whatever that looks like for you to have a plan. That is essential, because we don't want to beat ourselves up, which is what we do. We go into a shame spiral because we're like, I feel like crap, and now I feel guilty, and now I'm going to Orange Theory, and now I'm going to try to do everything I can. I'm so glad you brought it up because this is what we do. I mean, because we don't know any other way. And the more aware you are, then we can come up a plan to mitigate it. And I'm not saying it's easy in the moment. So let me make no bones about it. I'm not going, well, then we just make a different choice. No, it's a battle in my mind of, oh, I just that dessert. Oh, what am I, right? That's what it looks like. Breathing through it, identifying it, and coming up with that plan in real time is essential, which leads me to the boundaries conversation. Boundaries are what's okay and what's not okay. So you're kind of looking at yourself. Okay, one boundary for myself is I'm going to have one dessert. Making this up, or maybe you're having no dessert, or whatever that looks like for you. Like you're setting that before you get there, if possible. This is a great example to say, what is my boundary for myself? Now, let's say people in the family encourage you. Well, come on. Don't you want to try this? Or come on, just have a little bit more. It's the holidays, because this is what we all do. Or we get onto a topic that's really uncomfortable. We start talking politics. We start talking about things that are triggering, and we know we disagree on these topics. And we're like, oh no, here we go. Have a plan. We cannot control someone else. I can just say, I really want to stay connected. And we were having a really good conversation, or we were having a really good time. And I want to just put a pin in that so we can continue to stay connected, because that creates a lot of disconnection and discord. Or I get up and go, you know what? Excuse me, I'm going to run to the restroom. Come back and say, hey, I really want to talk about something else. Have you seen such and such movie? Or I'm making that up. Or what is your favorite holiday memory? So you're shifting the conversation into something more meaningful and something that can have more connectability to it. So once we start talking about the holiday, or let's say you're like, thank you so much for making this awesome dessert. I'm really watching my boundaries for myself, and I'm only going to have one piece. Thank you, though. Maybe we could do some take home. I'm making this up, but so you can come prepared with what to say. This is what gets people in trouble. They don't know how to reply if there's an uncomfortable conversation, if there's a boundary they've set from themselves and someone else is encouraging them, like maybe it's drinking, maybe it's eating, and they keep going, come on. They don't know what to do or say to shift that. And so then they feel stuck, and they're like, oh, well, forget it. I'll just have it, just to kind of keep the peace or not upset anybody or create any conflict. And when we can go, it's okay, I have a plan. This is what I mapped out. It doesn't mean it'll go according to plan. It means that I feel safer because I've thought about it ahead of time and what I might do. You can't plan for everything. You can just know what your boundaries are and aren't. Because during the holidays, we know that people have differing opinions. Okay. And so we can go in prepared. If you already know that there's a chasm in opinion, you can come up with a plan on how you're going to address it. And if you need an exit strategy, I give you full permission to have one. So sometimes we need an exit strategy on how to leave the situation. So you say, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and head out. And I so appreciate the time we've had together. Boom, we're gone. You have your car there, you're able to leave. Now we talk about grief in the holidays, which is that might be a whole nother episode with us on how to deal with grief in the holidays, because it's real, it's triggering. And if we can name the grief, if we can talk about it as a family system, if we can name the loved one, whether it's a pet, a person, a situation, if we can name it, that diffuses the resistance and the defenses against it. For example, the house situation with your in-laws, that's grief, right? It's exciting, and there's some grief in that. And that's all normal. And when we can talk about what's your favorite memory in the house, what are you going to miss the most, which you probably might have already done.
Yeah, we went around the table actually on Thanksgiving and gave our favorite memory of the house. People cried, people laughed. It was I thought, a great way to talk through it and talk it out.
Yes, beautiful. That's a great example of how to deal with the grief, right? So we name it, we're processing it, we're talking about it. It's when we pretend like it's not there, that's when we're going to do things that are going to negate connection. It's actually going to create what we don't want. It's very therapeutic for us to name what's really going on in a healthy family system that's not threatening. We can handle it. We can say it's okay for you to have your feelings, whatever they are. Nobody grieves the same, and that's okay. And we get permission from other people to decide, like, we can even do it ahead of time to say, hey, do we want to share our favorite story? Do we want to share a favorite memory? Do we want to bring pictures so we can honor the person? We can decide ahead of time too. So it doesn't have to be just that day. We can talk about it ahead of time. And that really helps everybody kind of wrap their mind around and start preparing for what that might look like when we're together. And we start some new traditions as a result. So next year, you'll be in a different place, I'm sure, for Thanksgiving and talking about how does that feel? What comes up emotionally? And we can even share last year, this year memories, which is really helpful for everybody to process. So I love that you guys did that.
So I was going to ask real quick, you had talked about, having your exit strategy. If you're hosting, for example, or if you're out of town at someone's house and you don't have an exit, or you don't have the option of an exit strategy, can you talk a little bit about if the conflict is there, if there's a tough conversation going on, how do we manage through it versus just exiting out of it?
Great question, because that happens, right?
Yep.
So the first thing is take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
Stay regulated before you have a response. So if you start getting defensive and you start getting dysregulated, the chances of you being clear on how to handle the situation, you're going to be foggy. So the first thing is getting your nervous system regulated through that breath. Take a deep breath. Ground yourself, acknowledge that there's differences. I hear you. I want everybody to be heard and seen. This isn't the time right now to talk about this. I'm happy to talk about this at a separate time when we can all come together and have the space and be fully present and attuned to what we need to talk about. But today isn't that day. So let's arrange a time for another time we can talk about this. Now, let's say you don't want to do that. You don't want to schedule another time. You're going to say, you know what? This is a topic that creates a lot of emotional intensity around this. And what I'm going to propose now is that we put a pin in this so we can actually connect on the holiday. So those are some ways to handle it, because at the end of the day, we want to try to create connection. That's why we're doing the holidays. We forget connection. And sometimes, so here's two things when it relates to connection. Sometimes I recommend family come up with games. So that can be, Boulder Dash or whatever you want to play. Games are wonderful. Question cards, conversation cards. We like to do that because I'm cheesy. So I'm like, let's pull a card and then we go around and talk about the question. I'm all about the ungame, which asks kind of deeper questions. And what it does is it starts to take the defenses down and we start connecting at a deeper level. So games are a great way to do that, or question cards. So I recommend that. Going around the table and saying what you're grateful for. So let's name 3 things we're grateful for. Maybe you start with one person. Be specific. We know gratitude changes the brain. It calms the brain down. We're using a different part of the brain. There's numerous research studies that show gratitude helps you connect to joy. It helps you find meaning in pain. And I'm not saying to bypass your pain. That's toxicity. That's positive toxicity stuff. We're talking about true gratitude for those people in your life. Maybe you need to volunteer that day. Maybe you're feeling really lonely. You don't know where to go. Volunteering at a soup kitchen, I guarantee you, will speak to you just as much as it speaks to somebody else. So there are options. If you're feeling like, well, I don't know what to do that day, volunteer. It will give back tenfold to you, as if, and to the other people you're serving. So think about finding the meaning with gratitude. So if we do this, we all go around and say what we're grateful for. And that starts to shift the energy, and be specific. So these are important, really heartfelt ways to, one, come back to center. Gratitude is a great way to come back to center and get grounded pretty quickly. And it's hard to do when we're in the midst of grief and pain. So I don't want to make this sound easy. It's not. It's little windows, little things that you can look for that go, oh, okay, I see. I'm grateful for this.
Well, I was going to touch on your point about having a game. I think that's a great idea. We're euchre players in our family, so we always have a euchre game going off to the side. It's a great thing for people to get plugged into and spend more time. That you're not just awkwardly sitting down talking to, Aunt Helen about whatever. I don't have an Aunt Helen, but whatever it may be. It's nice diffuser, if you will, in a way where you can kind of shift people in and out and whatnot. So I think it's a great idea.
I love the games. Now, some people don't want to play them, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. It gives you options on that day.
Exactly. And then you have memories.
Yep.
A lot of people remember the time you got really intense over the game? And I'm like, no, I don't remember that. Just kidding. I mean,
what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So before I want to switch to thankfulness in a minute, because I want us to end on that topic because it's a very important one, very timely. But around the holidays, any major don'ts? I mean, I know you talked about people overeating, over drinking, over shopping, over, whatever it may be. Any high level don'ts that people just kind of need to keep planted in their mind this time of year? Maybe not the best way to handle holiday stress or whatnot.
Yeah, I think the first thing is looking at your patterns. Like if you have a tendency to go to numbing, which are all those things you've named, rather than connecting to your emotions and processing those, writing them out to get them out, really tending to those, they get heightened during holidays. They get heightened during, trigger points, and the holidays trigger a lot of memories. They could be traumatic memories. And so holding that safe place to go, okay, how have I handled this in the past? And what do I want to do different in the future? Because if we can do some self-reflection, you're going to most likely work on changing that pattern to something different. Because if you do the same thing, you're going to get the same results. That's really important around the holidays. Secondly, if you're stuffing your emotions, they're probably going to erupt at some point when you're triggered. So stuffing emotions down, especially during the holidays and before you get there and you're just stuffing, numbing, the chances of you getting reactive are higher. So we don't want to be stuffing those emotions down. We don't want to be numbing them out. We want to be processing, tending to, having self-compassion for ourselves. Because if we're not dealing and feeling, that will manifest, especially when we're around family, because it brings up all our inner child stuff. And all of a sudden we're like, why do I feel like I'm 8 years old? Why do I feel like I'm 8 again? Why do I feel like I'm a child again? Or maybe you feel like you're doing everything. And you're like, why do I have to be doing everything? Well, we didn't ask for help, because that feels vulnerable. So we have to look at how are we contributing to the outcome. Maybe you're scared to put yourself out there and say how you really feel. And so those are really the do's and don'ts. And I think if you start in and you're activated and you are coming with a you always, you never, and blaming and shaming, I can guarantee you that's going to go south.
Mm-hmm.
So the minute you start with blame and shame, with you always and you nevers, that's not going to end in connection. That's going to end in disconnection and discord. So those are my main ones.
Yeah, those are good. Those are great things to think about as we go into the holidays here. I want to pivot here and talk a little bit about thankfulness and the importance of being thankful, and how that really probably changes the way we view the holidays and how we might view ourselves during this time.
Yeah, I would challenge everybody. This is the great time to start a new pattern of behavior, to at least send one person a day a grateful message. Tell them specifically what they've meant to you. Write out what you love about them. If it's your pet, tell your pet. If it's a friend, tell your friend. If it's a colleague, a coworker, a neighbor, a boss, a former teacher, a coach, it doesn't matter who it is. Let them know. Don't wait. Let them know what impact they've had on you, and thank them for that. And it might have been a hard lesson that you learned. It might have been somebody that loved you through thick and thin. It might have been someone that poured into you when you needed it most. It might have been someone that believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. Let them know now. I challenge you for the next 30 days to do it gratitude. You don't have to do it to a person necessarily. I invite you to do people. If you don't have enough people, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I want you to be grateful for something. Write that down. There's something about there's research about writing it out on paper that shifts it in your brain. So if you can write it out, and I like to do 5 a day, but even if you did 1 a day, it makes a difference. I like to do it in the morning and the evening as kind of bookends to my day to then reinforce that, oh, I really am grateful for these things. Even if I'm in pain, even if I've had a lot of going on emotionally, there's so much to be said about acknowledgement, and that's what gratitude does. It acknowledges what we typically just kind of bypass, and because we're so busy, or we deny it. You were going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was just going to ask real quick, if you go in, say, and this is such a Debbie Downer, but like if I go in and tell somebody that I'm grateful for them and they say, oh, thanks.
Or they don't acknowledge, or
And
they
I'm
don't
like,
say
well,
back.
hold on now. Wait, aren't you supposed to tell me how great I am too? Can you address that real quick?
Oh my gosh, that's so true, because
Yeah,
we're
right.
looking for, or people will say, I sent them a text and they never texted me back.
Right.
I said
Right.
thank you and they never, and I'm like, don't send it if you're attached to the
Yeah.
outcome. If
Yeah.
you're attached to needing the thank you back, the acknowledgement back, the you're wonderful back, the accolades back, don't send it, because that's an expectation, and you're going to be resentful. Then you're going to be pissed because you're gonna be like,
Yep.
well, they didn't send it to me. I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
done with them. And then we start writing people off, so it backfires. So
And
that I'm so
maybe they
glad you
just
brought
were in
that
a
up.
really dark spot and they just needed to hear that and didn't have it, and then to let you know that, but everyone's guilty of that, right? Like
Oh
I
yeah,
all the time, like, wait a second, I just told you how nice you are. Come on, come
yeah.
on.
Don't you have a little bit of thank you from me
Like,
or
where's the feedback? I just thought that was important to note because again, it is hard this holiday season. You want that. We all want to be, boosted a little bit and feel good, but I think we need to go in gratefulness with just being exactly that, grateful for that person or that thing. And some of those things aren't going to even speak back to you, and that's okay.
Yeah. And when you can unattach to that, when you can go, I don't need them to even say thank you. I don't even need them to like it, heart it, any kind of a reply,
Mhm.
you're ready to send it.
Yep.
This is hard work, because we all want to be known, appreciated, and feel like we matter and we're loved.
Well, oftentimes nowadays when we have these sitting by us at all times, where we want an instant response too. I'm a firm believer in writing handwritten notes and sticking them in the mail because it could. Who knows what the U.S. Postal Service is up to? It could take a week to get there. I don't know, but it's that if I can stick it in the mail and not worry about instant gratification, to your point, I feel much better about it. So,
Good.
a little
That's
fish nuts and
beautiful.
takeaway right there. So
I
good.
love it.
Well, this is an awesome conversation. It's one we're going to continue on in a couple weeks as well. We can talk a little bit about how Thanksgiving went. We can talk about the next holidays coming up. We can touch on, seasonal issues. It's cold as all get out outside in Indiana today, although the sun is shining. So we have a lot to cover over these next couple of weeks and months. So stick with us. Kristen, before we wrap up, if someone's in crisis mode right now, this was helpful to them, but man, they are just at their wits' end and they don't know where to turn. Where can they go?
This is a tough part of the year. So please, please know there is help available to you. 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-TALK. If you don't want to talk on the phone, text 741-741. Please don't try to do this alone. There are resources out there. If you need immediate assistance, of course, 911 and Community North here in Indianapolis, as well as St. Vincent Stress Center. And then if you need domestic violence services, please reach out to Prevail. 317-776-3472 is their 24-hour hotline.
Awesome. Well, again, Kristen Boyce, I'm thankful for you this Thanksgiving week. I'm thankful for all of you who hang with us every other week and chime in. Mrs. Hines for always saying hi as well. I appreciate all of you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and we'll see you back in 2 weeks.
Happy Thanksgiving.